I wasn't invited to my brother's wedding. I found out while standing in the corner of my aunt's backyard, balancing a flimsy paper plate loaded with potato salad that had started to sweat under the sweltering summer sun. The air was thick with the smell of barbecue smoke, the sharp tang of freshly cut grass, and the distant sound of kids laughing as they bounced on an old, sagging trampoline. The summer air clung to my skin, thick and humid, the kind that makes your shirt stick to your back and your thoughts stick in your throat. Around me, my family moved like a well-rehearsed play. My uncles clustered around the grill, their laughter cutting through the sizzle of burgers, my aunts comparing recipes over the picnic table covered in a red and white checkered cloth. Somewhere near the fence, a toddler shrieked with delight as the garden hose sprayed a rainbow through the sunlight. I was trying not to feel like a ghost, hovering at the edge of conversations, catching snippets of old family gossip and inside jokes I'd somehow missed. Being the adopted son had always meant walking a tightrope, close enough to feel part of the family, but never quite enough to lose that faint, nagging sense of being a visitor in someone else's home. That's when I heard it. Jenny, my cousin, sidled up beside me, flipping her hair out of her face as she grabbed a can of soda from the cooler. She had that carefree look of someone who never worries about missing out because she's always at the center of every family photo, every group text, every hastily planned road trip. She cracked open the can with a sharp hiss, took a sip, then glanced over at me with a smile. "So," she said, wiping a drop of cola from her lip, "are you flying out for Jake's wedding or just driving in?" The question hit me like a line drive to the chest. I blinked, my brain scrambling to catch up. Wedding? I forced a laugh, the kind that comes out too sharp and too quick when you're trying to buy time. "What wedding?" Jenny raised an eyebrow, her smile faltering for a second before she let out a light, dismissive chuckle. "Jake's wedding, duh. I mean, he finally proposed to Rachel, right? I figured you'd be the best man or something." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a playful whisper. "You know how he always looks up to you." I felt my grip tighten around the edge of my plate, the cheap plastic bending under my fingers. My heart drummed against my ribs, each beat a dull thud of confusion and something sharper, like betrayal. I forced a tight-lipped smile. "Yeah, of course, just still figuring out the travel plans, I guess." Jenny beamed, clearly satisfied that she'd included me in the loop, then drifted back toward the grill, her ponytail swinging behind her like a metronome. I stood there, the sounds of laughter and clinking bottles around me suddenly muffled, like I'd been pushed underwater. My stomach twisted, the potato salad on my plate congealing in the heat, the cheesecake slowly sinking into a sugary puddle. Jake. My little brother. My kid brother, who I'd taught to ride a bike, who I'd covered for when he snuck out of the house at 16, who I'd talked down from a panic attack the night before his college finals. The kid who once called me his hero. He was getting married, and I hadn't even known he was engaged. The air felt heavier, pressing in on me from all sides. I scanned the yard. Jake wasn't here, of course he wasn't. He'd skipped out on this family barbecue, probably caught up in the whirlwind of wedding planning, floral arrangements, and guest lists that clearly didn't include me. I made my way to the driveway, the gravel crunching under my shoes as I reached my car. I fumbled with the door handle, slipped inside, and slammed it shut, the sudden quiet hitting me like a cold shower. I dropped the plate onto the passenger seat, greasy paper crumpling under its own weight, and rested my hands on the steering wheel, the vinyl hot from baking in the sun. I took a deep breath, the kind that claws its way into your lungs, sharp and painful. My reflection in the rearview mirror stared back, eyes wide, jaw clenched, the pulse in my temple a steady, throbbing reminder that something had just shifted, that something had broken, and I wasn't sure if it was my heart or just my patience. I sat there for a long time, engine off, windows rolled up, the smell of melting plastic and old air freshener filling the small, stifling space. Outside, the world went on without me. A lawnmower buzzed from a neighbor's yard, a car door slammed down the street, a child's laughter echoed through the heat. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white, and closed my eyes. The only sound in the car was the creak of my fingers against the leather, a slow, methodical sound that somehow felt louder than the chaos I'd just left behind. It felt like the beginning of an ending. And for the first time in a long while, I had no idea what came next. It's strange, the things your mind clings to when the world shifts beneath you. As I sat in that sweltering car, the seatbelt buckle burning against my arm, my mind drifted back. Not to the sharp sting of my cousin's words or the echo of laughter from the backyard, but to the soft, sunlit memories of Jake as a kid. I could almost see him, a scrappy 10-year-old with a gap-toothed grin, his sneakers scuffed from countless afternoons spent chasing me around our tiny backyard. I remember teaching him to throw a football. The way he'd fumble at first, the ball slipping through his small hands until he finally got it right, his face lighting up like he'd just scored the winning touchdown in a championship game. He'd turn to me, eyes wide, waiting for my nod of approval, and I'd give him a rough, brotherly pat on the back, telling him he'd be a pro in no time. When Dad passed, Jake and I became our own kind of team. He was barely 14, still figuring out how to tie a tie for school dances and shave without nicking his chin. I became the one he'd come to with questions. About school, about girls, about the way the world sometimes felt too big and too loud. I was the one who slipped him $20 bills before prom, the one who covered for him when he came home past curfew with alcohol on his breath. Too proud to admit he'd made a mistake, but too scared to face Mom's disappointment alone. Then came the college years. I remember the first time Jake called me at 2 in the morning, his voice shaky, echoing off the walls of some cramped dorm room 3 states away. He was failing his chemistry class, panicking about losing his scholarship, his words tripping over each other as he tried to explain the pressure, the exhaustion, the fear of letting everyone down. I stayed on the phone with him for hours that night, pacing my small apartment, whispering encouragement until his breathing evened out and his voice found a steadier rhythm. I reminded him of all the times he'd gotten back up, all the times he'd pushed through, because that's what brothers do. We carry each other through the rough patches, even when it feels like the weight might break us. And then, the day he called me, voice raw and broken, telling me Rachel had left him. I could still hear the echo of his sobs, the way his words shattered between breaths, the disbelief in his voice as he repeated her name like a lifeline, slipping through his grasp. I drove to his apartment that night, bringing takeout and cheap beer, and sat with him on the floor of his living room, our backs against the peeling paint of his walls, saying nothing because sometimes silence says more than words ever can. He'd looked at me, eyes red and swollen, and whispered, "Thanks, man. I don't know what I'd do without you." I never told him, but that moment broke something in me. The realization that for all my support, for all my late-night phone calls and quietly given cash, I had somehow failed to be the kind of brother he'd turn to in his best moments too. That I was only his safety net, never his first call for celebration, always the one he turned to when the sky fell, but never the one he'd share his sunlight with. I blinked, the memories slipping away like smoke, the heat in the car pulling me back to the present. The engine still off, the windows still up, the world outside muffled and distant. I reached for my phone, my thumb hovering over Jake's name in my contacts, the old photo of us on my screen. 2 kids with matching grins, frozen in a moment before life got so damn complicated. I put the phone down, the screen going dark in my hand, my reflection staring back, eyes tired and shoulders heavier than I remembered. It hit me then, a slow, creeping realization that cut deeper than I expected. Jake hadn't called me to share his engagement, hadn't texted me to tell me about the wedding, hadn't even thought to include me in the biggest day of his life. And in that small, stifling car, my grip on the steering wheel tightened, my breath coming in short, shallow bursts, the ghost of my little brother's words echoing in my mind. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Apparently, he'd figured it out. I sat in my apartment later that night, the glow from my phone screen casting long shadows across the chipped coffee table in front of me. The air was thick with the smell of stale takeout and the faint metallic whir of my ceiling fan. I hadn't turned on the lights when I came in. Somehow, darkness felt more honest, less demanding. My thumb hovered over the contact labeled Mom. It was an old photo, one I'd taken years ago at a 4th of July barbecue, her smiling face half hidden behind a wide-brimmed sun hat. Back then, I'd thought of her as the anchor that kept our small, patched-together family from drifting apart after Dad died. Now, that image felt more like a cruel reminder of the gap between who I thought we were and who we really turned out to be. I hesitated, my pulse drumming in my ears. This was a conversation I wasn't ready for, but I couldn't let it fester. Not without knowing the truth. I hit the call button, the phone ringing twice before her familiar, efficient voice cut through the static. "Hey, honey," she said, the sound of dishes clinking in the background. I pictured her in the kitchen, phone wedged between her cheek and shoulder as she wiped down the counter. "Everything okay?" I cleared my throat, forcing my voice to steady. "Hey, Mom. Yeah, everything's fine. I heard something today and I wanted to check with you." A slight pause, the clink of a cup being set down, the faint hum of the refrigerator in the background. "Of course, sweetie. What's on your mind?" I felt the words catch in my throat, jagged and uncomfortable. "Is Jake? Is he getting married?" Another pause, this one longer, stretching into the kind of silence that makes your skin itch. Then a quiet, almost dismissive chuckle. "Oh, that. Yes, next month, actually." She said it like I'd asked if the mail had arrived or if the neighbor's cat was still sneaking into her flower beds. "We weren't sure if you'd be free, with your work schedule and all." I blinked, the words hitting me with a slow, sinking weight. My fingers tightened around the phone, the plastic case creaking under the pressure. "I didn't even know it was happening," I said, my voice coming out tighter than I'd intended. She let out another light laugh, the kind that feels like a pat on the head, like a dismissal wrapped in a smile. "Oh, Daniel, don't be so dramatic. It's just a small thing, really. Jake and Rachel wanted to keep it simple. Just family, you know? Just family." I closed my eyes, feeling the sharp, bitter taste of the words as they settled into my chest. "I am family," I said, my tone sharper now, the edge of my frustration slipping through. She hesitated, the background noise growing quieter, like she'd stepped away from the kitchen into a quieter room. "Of course you are, honey. It's just, you're always so busy, always on the move. We thought it might be easier this way, less pressure on everyone." Less pressure, easier. As if my absence was a convenience, a footnote in their carefully curated celebration. As if cutting me out of my brother's wedding was a kindness, a practical decision, like trimming the guest list to save on catering costs. I forced a dry, humorless laugh, the kind that sounds more like a choke. "Right. Wouldn't want to complicate things." Another pause, this one stretching into something colder, heavier. I could hear the soft, shuffling sound of her moving, the faint creak of the old floorboards in the hallway. She took a breath, the kind that meant she was choosing her words carefully. "You're not mad, are you?" I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. "I'm not sure what I am," I said, each word cutting a little deeper as I spoke. "But I think I just needed to hear you say it, that you planned all of this without me." The line crackled softly, her silence louder than any argument we'd ever had. Finally, she exhaled a slow, tired sound that felt like the closing of a door. "We just thought it would be simpler this way," she said, her voice smaller now, almost fragile. "You understand, don't you?" I didn't. But I knew better than to say that. I knew how this conversation would end, with me biting my tongue, swallowing my hurt, playing the part of the understanding son because that's what I'd always done. The one who makes things easier, who doesn't ask for too much, who lets himself be sidelined without complaint. "I have to go," I said, my voice rough and unfamiliar. "I've got a lot of work to catch up on." "Oh, of course," she said, relief seeping into her tone. "Take care, honey." We love you." The words clung to me as I ended the call, their weight settling into my bones, cold and hollow. I stared at my phone, the screen slowly dimming, my reflection staring back, eyes tired and jaw clenched. For a long moment, I just sat there, my phone still in my hand, the room around me too quiet, too still. The only sound my own shallow breathing. I felt like a shadow, a ghost in my own family, a placeholder in their neatly arranged lives. And for the first time, I wondered if I'd ever really belonged at all. I tossed my phone onto the worn leather couch, the clatter muffled by the pile of unopened mail and half-read magazines scattered across the cushions. My mind felt like a crowded freeway, thoughts colliding and overlapping, each one louder than the last. The sharp sting of that phone call with Mom still echoed in my head, each dismissive word replaying in a loop. Just family, you know? I stood in the dimly lit living room, my eyes tracing the cracks in the ceiling, the faint water stains from a long-forgotten leak. I'd always thought of this place as my refuge, a small, cluttered apartment that smelled faintly of burnt coffee and last night's Chinese takeout. But now it felt like a cage, the walls closing in, each shadow stretching longer, darker. I moved to the window, the city outside a blur of neon signs and taxi lights streaking through the rain-slicked streets below. People moved like shadows, nameless, faceless, hurrying past each other without a second glance. I wondered how many of them felt as invisible as I did, as if they'd been written out of their own stories. Without another thought, I grabbed my laptop from the coffee table, flipping it open with a sharp click. My fingers moved faster than my mind, the keyboard clacking as I searched for flights, my heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and something that felt dangerously close to excitement. Alaska, I muttered to myself, the word tasting cold and sharp on my tongue. The place I'd dreamed of visiting since I was a kid. Wide open spaces, jagged mountain peaks, air so cold it cut your lungs like broken glass. A place where you could lose yourself, where the silence was a living thing, wrapping around you like a thick, comforting fog. I found a flight leaving the next morning, a one-way ticket to Anchorage. My cursor hovered over the confirm button, my heart hammering in my chest. This was it, the point of no return. I took a deep breath, my hand trembling slightly, then clicked. It felt like the air shifted, like the room itself exhaled. I leaned back, the chair creaking under my weight, the reality of what I'd just done settling into my bones. I was leaving. Walking away from the life I'd built, from the family that had forgotten me, from the hollow echo of my own quiet, unspoken disappointment. I spent the next few hours moving through the apartment like a ghost, my footsteps silent on the creaky wooden floor, my breath coming in shallow, steady pulses. I pulled a battered duffel bag from the closet, tossing in clothes without much thought. Heavy sweaters, thick socks, a worn flannel shirt that still smelled faintly of pine and campfire smoke. I found my old hiking boots buried at the back of the closet, the leather cracked and scuffed from years of neglect. I ran my thumb over the deep creases in the toe, remembering the countless miles I'd hiked in them, the cold mountain streams I'd crossed, the rocky trails that had chewed through their soles. They felt like old friends, a reminder of a version of myself I hadn't seen in years. I paused by the bookshelf, my eyes tracing the spines of dog-eared paperbacks and cracked leather journals, each one a piece of my past, a chapter in a story that suddenly felt so distant. I reached for one, a small, weathered notebook with my initials etched into the cover, and slipped it into my bag, the weight of it strangely comforting. As the hours crept toward dawn, I found myself standing in the doorway, my apartment a ghost town of memories and half-packed boxes. I hesitated, my hand resting on the light switch, my eyes sweeping over the cluttered, familiar chaos one last time. Then, without a second thought, I flicked the switch, plunging the room into darkness. The airport was a blur of fluorescent lights and echoing voices, the clatter of suitcase wheels on polished tile floors, the sharp crackle of announcements cutting through the muffled chaos. I moved through it all like a man on autopilot, my boots scuffing against the cold linoleum as I made my way to the gate. As the plane taxied down the rain-soaked runway, the city lights stretching out like a spider's web beneath me, I felt a strange, hollow calm settle into my chest. I closed my eyes, the low hum of the engines vibrating through my seat, and let my mind drift, the memories of my family slipping further into the fog with each passing second. When the plane broke through the clouds, the sunrise cutting through the window in sharp, blinding streaks, I opened my eyes to a world covered in snow and silence, the jagged peaks of Alaska stretching out beneath me like the spine of some ancient, slumbering beast. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. The cabin creaked in the morning cold, the wooden beams shivering slightly as the wind whispered through the cracks in the windows. I wrapped my hands around a steaming cup of coffee, the heat radiating into my palms as I leaned against the rough-hewn counter, staring out at the frozen world beyond the frosted glass. The lake outside stretched into the distance, a vast sheet of unbroken ice, its surface etched with the faint, ghostly lines of cracks that ran like the veins of a living thing. The air here was sharp, each breath a crisp, cutting thing that filled my lungs with a clean, biting chill. It felt like inhaling clarity, pure, unfiltered, like the air had been frozen in time. I took a slow sip, the bitter warmth spreading down my throat, and let the silence wash over me, drowning out the echoes of my old life. For the first few days, I kept my phone off, its dark, lifeless screen tucked deep in my jacket pocket. The world outside my cabin felt infinite, a white wilderness that swallowed sound and thought, leaving only the slow, steady rhythm of my boots crunching through snow and the soft rustle of wind through the skeletal trees. One morning, I found a bench near the edge of the lake, its wooden slats half buried in a drift of powdery snow, the surface worn smooth by years of bitter winters. I brushed the snow off with my gloved hand, the cold biting through the thick fabric, and sat down, the icy wood pressing against my legs. I watched my breath puff out in small, misty clouds, each exhale a fleeting, frozen whisper in the stillness. The sun hung low in the sky, a weak, distant glow barely cutting through the thick layer of gray clouds, its light stretching in thin, hesitant lines across the ice. I pulled out my phone, the screen lighting up with a dull, familiar glow, and for a moment I just stared at it, my reflection ghostly in the glass. I swiped to the camera, held it up to the lake, and snapped a single quiet image, the frozen water stretching into the distance, the sky a muted, washed-out gray, the bare, twisted branches of a nearby tree framing the shot like the fingers of some ancient skeletal hand. I posted it without a caption. No hashtags, no context, just the image. A silent digital pulse in the vast, endless stream of noise and distraction. I watched the tiny progress bar creep across the screen, the photo slipping into the ether, a single frame of my new, quieter life. Later, as I sat by the small, crackling fire I'd managed to coax from damp logs and crumpled newspaper, my phone buzzed softly in my pocket. I pulled it out, the cold metal stinging my fingertips, and glanced at the screen. A few notifications, names I recognized, people I hadn't spoken to in months, their tiny profile pictures lined up like ghosts in the corner of the display. I swiped them away, letting the screen go dark again, the phone slipping back into my pocket, forgotten once more as the fire crackled and popped, casting long, dancing shadows against the log walls of the cabin. The days slipped into a slow, unmarked rhythm. Mornings spent wandering the frozen shoreline, afternoons huddled by the fire, evenings wrapped in thick blankets, the wind howling outside like a distant, forgotten song. I snapped photos when the light struck the snow just right, when the ice cracked in thin, jagged lines like shattered glass, when the mist from my breath hung in the air like a ghost. Each photo felt like a small, private act of defiance, a reminder to myself that I was still here, still breathing, still alive in a world that had tried to write me out of its story. One morning I found myself standing at the edge of the lake, my boots sinking into the thin, icy crust of snow. my breath misting in the cold, thin air. I pulled out my phone, snapped another photo, a close-up of my gloved hand reaching out to touch the frozen water, the ice smooth and unyielding beneath my fingertips. I posted it without a second thought, the screen flashing briefly before going dark once more, my reflection staring back at me. Eyes hollow but somehow clearer, sharper, as if the cold had stripped away all the noise, the clutter, the doubt. As the days stretched into weeks, I felt myself slipping further into the silence, my thoughts settling into the slow, steady pulse of the wilderness, my mind quieting in the cold, still air. I found a strange comfort in the isolation, a freedom in the absence of expectation, the weight of others' needs slipping from my shoulders like a heavy, snow-drenched cloak. I was just a man in a cabin, a shadow among the trees, a faint breath of warmth against the ice-covered world, and for the first time in years that felt like enough. It started as a faint, irregular buzz in my jacket pocket, the vibration cutting through the quiet crackle of the fire and the low, distant howl of the wind outside. I pulled my phone from my coat, the screen lighting up with a flood of notifications, the small, blinking icons stacking like frantic footsteps on a creaking floor. At first, I ignored them, tossing the phone onto the cabin's small wooden table, its screen flickering briefly before falling dark again. I leaned back in the old, creaking armchair, my eyes fixed on the dancing flames in the stone fireplace, my mind slipping back into the comforting silence of my solitary retreat. But the buzzing continued, insistent, each vibration a sharp, insistent reminder of the world I'd tried to leave behind. I sighed, the breath fogging in the cool, smoky air, and reached for the phone, my thumb swiping across the cracked glass, the light flooding the small room in a harsh, unnatural glow. The first message was from Mom. Mom. Daniel, please call me. It's about Jake. We need you. My stomach tightened, the familiar weight of family obligation pressing down on my chest, my breath catching in my throat. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the message, the words blurring slightly as my pulse quickened. Then came another, this one from my cousin Jenny. Jenny. OMG, you won't believe what happened at the wedding. Call me ASAP. Jake's a mess. I scrolled through the messages, my thumb moving faster, each new notification a small, sharp jab to my ribs. Aunt Linda. Daniel, honey, please come home. We need you. Mom, again. Please just pick up. We can't handle this alone. My jaw tightened, my teeth grinding together as I flipped to my missed calls, a dozen, maybe more, all from family members I hadn't spoken to in months, their names glowing in bright, insistent letters, each one a tiny digital plea for my attention. For a moment, I just sat there, my breath coming in shallow, ragged bursts, the fire crackling behind me, the shadows stretching long and thin against the cabin walls. I felt the familiar pull, the old, instinctive urge to step back into my role as the family fixer, the one who cleaned up the messes, who patched the cracks, who held everyone together when the world fell apart. But then, another message buzzed through, this one from an old friend I hadn't thought about in years. Mark, a guy I used to play pickup basketball with back in college, a guy who knew Jake better than most, a guy who'd been there for the wild, reckless years of my brother's life, long before Rachel ever entered the picture. Mark. Hey, man. I don't know if you've heard, but things got ugly at the wedding. Jake, he messed up. Big time. Call me if you want the full story. Figured you should know. I stared at the message, my pulse thudding in my ears, my fingers numb against the cold glass of the phone. For a long moment, I just sat there, the fire crackling behind me, the shadows flickering against the rough log walls, the wind outside whispering through the cracks like a ghost. I closed my eyes, the weight of the past weeks settling into my bones, the echoes of my family's frantic pleas buzzing in my head like angry, trapped wasps. I felt the old, familiar anger rising in my chest, the bitter, choking frustration of a lifetime spent cleaning up other people's mistakes. The quiet, simmering rage of a man who had always been expected to hold the line, to pick up the pieces, to sacrifice his own peace for the comfort of others. I stood, my knees cracking as I rose from the old, sagging armchair, my breath fogging in the cold, thin air of the cabin. I crossed to the window, the frost-covered glass crackling under my touch as I wiped a thin line of condensation away, my breath fogging the glass as I leaned in, my eyes tracing the jagged, snow-covered peaks in the distance. For the first time in weeks, I felt the old, familiar pull of family, the magnetic, inescapable gravity of blood and bone, the sharp, insistent tug of a life I'd tried so hard to leave behind. But as I stared out at the frozen landscape, the cold, unbroken silence stretching out before me, I felt something else, too. A deep, steady calm, a quiet, unshakable certainty that I wasn't ready to go back, that I couldn't go back, that I had finally found a place where my voice wasn't drowned out by the chaos of other people's lives. I let the phone fall back onto the table, its screen still glowing with missed calls and unread messages, the small, insistent icons flickering like distant, desperate signals in the dark. I turned back to the fire, the warmth licking at my face, my breath slow and steady in the cold, still air, and let the silence swallow me once more. The wind whipped against the cabin walls, rattling the small windows like a restless spirit. I sat at the small wooden table, my breath hanging in the frigid air, the fire behind me crackling softly as its glow cast long, flickering shadows against the rough log walls. My phone lay silent beside me, the screen dark, its battery drained to a thin, flickering line of red. I hadn't touched it in days. In front of me, a single sheet of thick, yellowed paper rested on the table, the kind I'd picked up at a roadside shop on my way here. Back when the thought of writing a letter had seemed quaint, almost nostalgic. Now it felt necessary. A final, tangible act, a way to close the chapter without the noise and clamor of a phone call, without the mess of texts and voicemails and unread messages. I picked up the pen, the weight of it cold and unfamiliar in my hand, and hesitated, my breath fogging slightly as I exhaled, the tip of the pen hovering over the paper, the ink still untouched. I took a deep breath, the air sharp and biting in my lungs, and let the words come, each stroke of the pen slow and deliberate, the black ink bleeding into the fibers of the paper, each word a small, quiet echo in the silence of the cabin. Dear Mom, I hope this letter finds you well. I've been thinking a lot lately. About you, about Jake, about the years that have slipped through our fingers without us even noticing. I don't blame you for the choices you've made. I understand now more than ever that families are complicated, that we do the best we can with the pieces we're given, even if it means sometimes leaving people behind. I won't pretend it didn't hurt, finding out about Jake's wedding the way I did, realizing that I'd somehow become a footnote in the lives of the people I once held so close. But I also understand that life moves in strange, unpredictable ways, that sometimes the paths we choose don't always lead us back to the same place. I'm not angry. I'm not looking for an apology. I just wanted to say that I'm okay. I found a place where the air is clear, where the quiet is deep, where the weight I've carried for so long feels a little lighter. I hope Jake finds his peace too. I hope he learns from his mistakes, that he grows into the man I always believed he could be. And I hope you find your own kind of freedom, your own kind of quiet, wherever that may be. Take care of yourselves. Love, Daniel. I set the pen down, the ink still wet, the words glistening slightly in the dim light. I folded the paper carefully, my fingers moving slowly, methodically, each crease sharp and precise, the edges aligning perfectly as I pressed the fold flat with the edge of my thumb. I slipped the letter into a plain, unmarked envelope, the rough paper crinkling softly as I sealed it shut. I ran my thumb over the flap, the adhesive sticking slightly in the cold, dry air, and wrote my family's address in small, careful letters across the front, each stroke of the pen steady, unhurried. I stood, my knees cracking as I pushed back from the table, the old wooden chair creaking loudly in the sudden jarring silence. I grabbed my coat, the thick, worn fabric stiff against my shoulders, and stepped out into the cold, my breath fogging in the thin, icy air as I crossed the snow-covered porch. The walk into town was long and quiet, the snow crunching beneath my boots, the trees creaking softly in the wind, their bare, skeletal branches swaying gently against the gray sky. The air smelled of pine and frost, sharp and clean, each breath a small, icy dagger in my lungs. I found the post box near the edge of town, a small, rusted thing half buried in a drift of snow, its red paint chipped and faded, the metal cold and unyielding beneath my fingers. I slipped the letter inside, the metal slot clanging softly as the envelope slid out of sight, the sound sharp and final in the crisp morning air. For a long moment, I just stood there, my hands tucked deep in my pockets, my breath fogging in the stillness, the trees creaking softly in the wind, the snow falling in soft, whispering flakes around me. I felt the cold seeping into my bones, the silence settling into my chest like a slow, steady heartbeat, the air around me alive with the quiet, unspoken promise of something new. I made my way back to the cabin, my boots cutting thin, winding tracks through the snow, each step a small, deliberate act, my breath coming in slow, steady bursts, the cold biting at my exposed skin. When I reached the lake, I stopped, the frozen water stretching out before me like a blank page, the distant peaks shrouded in thin, wispy clouds, their jagged edges cutting through the sky like the teeth of some ancient, slumbering beast. I took a deep breath, the air sharp and clean in my lungs, and stepped to the edge of the ice, my boots crunching against the thin, powdery snow. I stood there for a long time, my eyes tracing the distant horizon, the sky a muted, washed-out gray, the cold wind biting at my cheeks, my breath hanging in small, misty clouds around me. I closed my eyes, my mind quiet, my heart steady, the silence settling over me like a thick, comforting blanket. And for the first time in years, I felt truly, completely free.